Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you back to Old Hat Cinema for Episode 7 of Teen Talk on Classic Criterion. As always, I'm your host, PM Turner, and once again I find myself extending apologies for the delay in the posting of December's Teen Talk video. Unfortunately, I had to spend the last week of my life recovering from an illness, during which I didn't even have the strength to pick up a book and read it, much less plop myself down in front of a camera. But we're back, we're ready to go, and in today's video, we will be discussing a wonderful, witty comedy of manners, Cluny Brown, directed by Ernest Lubitsch, released in 1946, and Criterion Spine number 997. Okay, let's get into today's video. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Episode 7 of Teen Talk on Classic Criterion. This is PM Turner of Old Hat Cinema, and today's guest is my friend Ryan, and we will be discussing the very, very witty 1946 comedy Cluny Brown, directed by the great Ernest Lubitsch, and actually it was his final completed film before he died. So to begin with, Ryan, if you had to describe this film in one word, what word would that be?
Very funny.
Funny? Absolutely. Because it was essentially a comedy of manners and a gentle satire of Old England, on the brink of World War II, of course. So I'll ask you what your favorite scene was in a little while, but first, what was your favorite thing about this movie? Not necessarily a part, but a thing about it.
Well, I liked that Belinsky, he liked Cluny Brown, but kind of more like telling her that, I really like you, hint hint, sort of thing.
Yeah, the romance was very subtle in it. And so, that said, what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene was when Cluny Brown, she was in the back room with that guy who liked her, the chemist, and then Belinsky, he came in, he rings his shop bell, and then he comes out, and then he sees no one there, and then he's like, it bothered him. And then he goes back in his room and he rings it one more time just to really get on his nerve.
Definitely. The wonderful Charles Boyer ringing the shop's bell to annoy the stuck-up chemist, Mr. Wilson. So would you recommend this movie?
Yes. It's great for all ages, actually. I think it'd be good in theaters and all around, actually.
Ooh, yes, a comeback classic in theaters. That would be a great idea because it's just a very smart, thoughtful, well-written family comedy. And the interesting thing is, this isn't a super well-known classic film. I myself had never even heard of it until late last year when actually I was just shopping around for another Criterion. And I was looking at 1940s American films on Criterion's website. And I came across Cluny Brown, and I read all these positive reviews. I asked some people I know that are into classics, and I just kept hearing good things about it. So I took a chance, I bought the Criterion knowing very little about the film. I watched it on New Year's Eve, but it was probably the best movie of last year that I watched, and that's how good it was. Not only that, but it also made me a fan of Charles Boyer, who I'd only been vaguely aware of until watching Cluny Brown. That said, Ryan, give me your opinions on the performances of Charles Boyer and Jennifer Jones, who played Adam Belinsky and Cluny Brown.
As Cluny Brown, I liked that she was a plumber, because they expected a man for a plumber, and then they end up seeing a girl. And then they're like, who are you? And she says that she's the plumber. And they're like, okay. And then she comes in and she's like, just a few bangs and it's done.
Absolutely. And then she takes a drink and ends up meowing like a Persian cat.
Oh, yeah.
Not like any plumber you've ever called, I bet.
But that uncle was not too happy.
No. Poor old Uncle Arn. So Ryan, was there anything else that you wanted to add to this discussion about the film?
I gotta say, my favorite actor of the whole movie was actually Belinsky.
Good
choice. The main
choice.
character, but I like him.
Absolutely, and I agree with you there. Like I said, it made me a huge Charles Boyer fan. And the cool thing is, of course, he was French. He was so very, very French. And he plays a Czechoslovakian, or was it Polish, writer in this movie?
I don't know.
I have here my old copy of the original book, Cluny Brown, and it's actually a first edition from 1944 that I found in my basement. And until I was cleaning out the basement that night, I didn't even know that Cluny Brown was a book. I had only seen the movie. One of the most interesting things that they changed from the book to the movie is that in the book, Belinsky and Cluny Brown are not friends, not lovers. In fact, far from it, they're actually very annoyed with each other throughout the whole story.
Yes.
In fact, there's one scene in the book where she goes to talk to Belinsky and he gets so annoyed with her that he takes his paperback copy of Gulliver's Travels and chucks it at her head. But the cool thing is, in spite of its differences, the movie is so enjoyable. And that's the case with a lot of book-to-film adaptations. I don't know why they changed so much, but sometimes it can be annoying, other times, such as this case, it can be pulled off really well. And there's one segment from the book that I would like to read to finish us up. It is the first conversation between Belinsky and Cluny Brown. It says here, because Cluny Brown is obviously a very intelligent girl, way ahead of the times, right?
Yes.
She is so not part of the era she lives in. So she's talking to Belinsky, and Belinsky says to her, for instance, if one belongs nowhere, if one is not already rooted, one has choice. One can regard the countries of the world as a man regards his house agent's list. That is not quite true for me, because there are several countries where I would be very uncomfortable indeed. But for you, I imagine the whole universe is to let. Cluny listened to him as she had once at a church concert listened to a poem about people who ate lotus, which she imagined as some sort of melon. She couldn't make head or tail of it, but it sounded lovely. Now she had the same, to her very rare, feeling of mental excitement, the sensation of being on the verge of a very great discovery. Say that again, she ordered sharply. That last bit. So even though they don't start out as friends or lovers in the book,
They would kick each other if they decided that they had any feelings whatsoever between each other. And then Cluny, she had a dream that they liked each other, so she kicked herself immediately. Anyway, how do you kick yourself?
Ow! Peanut butter! Like that, I would imagine. Well, anyway, it's been great talking to you, Ryan, but it's getting late and I've got an appointment to go have tea at the Ritz. So with that, we're going to sign off, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being a participant on Teen Talk for Classic Criterion, Ryan.
Yep, thank you.
Hands down, smoothest Teen Talk video I've ever had the pleasure of filming. Little to no retaking, minimal editing on my part, and just an overall great conversation with Ryan. Ryan is Katie and Abby's younger brother, both of whom have appeared as previous participants on Teen Talk. Abby discussing Charade by Stanley Donen, and Katie discussing the British Titanic film A Night to Remember, directed by Roy Ward Baker. Ryan is such a smart, thoughtful kid, and it was just really great to have this film discussion with him. He was a great participant, one of the best yet, and we just had a lot of fun. I think we covered a lot of good, pertinent stuff about the film, while also finding opportunity to throw in a little fun, as you could see. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I just hope that all of you have a wonderful, safe, healthy Christmas season. Until next time, y'all, this is PM Turner, over and out.